Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Studio Insights with the Belvista Studios team. We are looking forward to learn from each other and share value, and hopefully you can get some value too from what we discuss. Before we get into the episode, if you are a learning designer, please check out the Creator Hub. There is so much value on there. There's free templates and paid templates, so check it out and see if there's anything that will add value to your life, which I'm sure there will be, because as learning designers, we all use similar tools. So go and check it out. It's in the description below. Let's get into the episode. Kim, what's your question?
My question's for Vic. And Vic, you're working on a RISE course at the moment that has a really nice kind of presentation of you're using news articles, clippings kind of is what it looks like. And it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 as you scroll down. And on it, you've got like the newspaper like headline, and then in it is like a little moving video image. And I'm wondering how you've created it and developed it so that it flows really nicely, because it doesn't look blocky. It looks like it's just flowing on one from another.
When we started developing it, we realized it was going to be a big image, because we basically just wanted like one seamless looking like picture that just like keeps going and going, but you can't tell that it's like all made up of smaller bits. So in RISE, we used a centered image block. And I think we've used like 5 or 6 of them, just one after the other, and there's no padding on them. So whatever images we put in will sit like tight against one another. So that was how we set it up in RISE as like the base for the base of it. But then we actually developed the clippings and the moving GIF things in Canva. So we basically had to make an image per image block for RISE. And yeah, we wanted it to look as if it was just one big image, even though it's 5 on top of each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had like you said, we had a headline and a little moving image for each image.
Yeah. Which is one individual newspaper clipping, hey?
Yeah. And what we used to make it look like they were all connected was like a newspaper print looking, like ripped up bits of newspaper print paper as just like a background, so it like sticks out a bit behind the actual newspaper clipping. And that was what we needed to connect in like the background of all 5 images, to like link it so it looks like it flowed, when really there was like individual bits on each one. So it was like a bit tricky to get it lined up, and I still don't think it's perfect. But I tried a few different things. So because all of the newspaper print paper that we're trying to get to connect in the background, it's like different random like little cutouts. It's not like a rectangle photo.
It's kind of like teared pieces, like hey? So it's like round, not square, or like, yeah.
And so you kind of want to make it look like half of that print is like on one image and then the other half is on the next image.
Yeah.
So I did try a few different things to figure out, like to get the seamless look to work. The first thing I tried was, so I basically like positioned the ripped out newspaper, say on like the bottom half of the image. So like the image is like that. And the newspaper sort of sat like down there and up there.
Yeah.
Because like that bit would be on this image, and then like that bit would be at the top of the next
one
image.
So some of it's sitting on your canvas and then it's kind of not.
Yeah, it's like the overhang.
Yes,
whatever overhangs, it needs to be like the first thing you see on the next one.
Canvas.
Yeah. So yeah, initially I tried by just like I'd put it on with the overhang and everything, and it would be sitting where I wanted it to, and then I'd copy and paste that onto the next image, so that like the X positioning, well, the X and Y positioning would be the same, but then I needed to change the Y so that instead of it sitting at the bottom of the screen, like I'd move it all the way to the top, and then there'd be overhang at the top. That should hopefully match up with the top
the previous canvas or the previous image really that you've made. Yeah.
And yeah, so I tried that and it did work for some of them, but it was hard to get it exact without, because in Canva you can't like choose the Y positioning. So I was kind of just doing it by eye, which I think my eyes are a few pixels. So I've just been trying to fix some of them today, and I think this new method might be a bit better. And that is, so I get my like little newspaper clipping like that, and I duplicate it and put one on top of the other in the exact same spot.
Yeah.
And then on whatever one is like sitting on the front, I crop it until it's like exactly in half of the top half.
Yeah.
And then you can see the other full one behind it, and I crop it down so that it's like the bottom half. So it's like exactly like a crop.
The cut is
exactly
like,
cropped in half.
if it's cutting, like a piece of text or something off, or a line that's maybe diagonal, it's exact. It's not like, oh, that word is a little bit jotted or whatever.
Yeah.
Cool.
And yeah, then I align. So then there's a straight cut down the middle, and then like the top's all jagged, the bottom's all jagged. Yeah. So then I rotate. I basically need to rotate them both so that the straight edge is sitting on like the straight edge of the canvas.
Yes.
And then like align one to the top and one to the bottom, and then just go.
Yeah.
I don't know if this makes any sense. I could share my screen and show you.
Share it after you've made sure you hide like all the client stuff.
Yeah, one sec.
Good.
Because I think that would make a lot more sense. Let me just dump some shapes on it quickly to cover things.
Thanks everyone for being patient with the silence. As big. Jigging.
I don't know actually.
The big reveal, and then you're like, actually I can't show my screen. Everyone's like, no.
Wait, let me. I can't just. I think it'll be worth a wait because that explanation was not going very well. But I can do like a quick demo to make it easier, hopefully. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Definitely. Let me close all my all my browsers. Okay. I'm gonna share it now. I'd help if I had my mouse. All right.
We're famous.
All right. So this is the canvas, right?
Yeah.
So that's my newspaper thingy that I'm using. So what I've been doing is, so I just duplicate it. So it's the exact same thing, one on top of the other.
Yeah. I
just make sure they're like exactly aligned.
Mm-hmm.
And then I crop. Actually, did I? This is no, I didn't. So I crop one to the bottom half, and then I crop that one to the top half.
Yeah.
I won't do it like perfectly, but obviously you spent like take the time to make sure it's like an exact thing with no gap.
Yeah.
And then so I'd rotate this one. Actually, I'll do it the other way. What am I doing? Just to 90 degrees. So like that flat surface is against the flat one.
Yep.
Actually, I've skipped a step. So you want them to be like, you want to line them up first. So say it's like that. So then I paste that one on there, and I'll align that to the top.
Oh, yeah.
And then align that to the bottom.
That's
so then when you like publish them, there won't be that, and put them into the Rise block, there won't be that gap there.
Yeah.
But that will be like perfectly, it doesn't look perfect, but it will be like perfectly lined up. So yeah, our other ones that we had like a big newspaper clipping there, and then this printed paper was just like in the trailing kind of in the background across all of the images.
Right. Can you do a screenshot of what it looks like in Rise and chuck it in there for a second? Maybe unshare and just, I want to see two of them combined, because I think there's a part that's tripping me out. I wouldn't be able to do it by myself. Well, it's just easier when you have the answer and I have access to you.
Well, hopefully I've got the answer. One sec.
While you're doing that, are you able to talk to the perfect pixels to have your canvas at? Have you found like one is better than other?
No. Do you mean
in size? No. Okay.
Do you mean like
to fit in the image block of Rise?
I don't. So ours is 1920 by 1080.
Yeah.
But I think I don't actually know what the what's it called? I don't know.
Well, we'll go with that.
Recommended size is
1920 by 1080 people, and also put in _ no process _ so that it treats it and doesn't pixelate it and all that shit.
All right.
In the file name, that is. So you have your file name _ no process, all capitals _ .png .jpeg, whatever it is.
Okay, I'm just going to share my screen again.
Thank you.
So that's basically one image block.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the next image block in Rise.
Yep.
And yeah, that's an example of like how we've connected the newspaper, which I kind of colored over so you can't really tell, but
that's cool.
There is a join somewhere along there.
Oh, you wouldn't tell because you're very good at your alignment. So you know how, see that the horizontal at the top and the horizontal at the bottom? So if we just think about the horizontal, sorry, the newspaper clipping at the top where the image is cut off, and so is like the actual writing paper, and it's got like a very sharp straight line.
Yeah.
Is that what's at the top of your canvas, or is that halfway down and there's actually a white gap on your canvas in Canva? Or is that aligned to the top of your, yeah. Is that aligned to the top?
I've just taken a screenshot that cut off.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Can you draw a box on that, what you've got there, of what you've actually exported as a PNG or a JPEG from Canva?
Not on this because it's got the client stuff at the top of it. That's like the bottom half of an image.
Okay, yeah. Where would it end? Halfway down your kind of background printed newspaper, is that what you're saying?
I'm lost, sorry.
Help. I feel like where Victoria said it was connecting is the bottom of the top block and the start of the bottom block.
Yeah, so on that printed newspaper, the black and white stuff is the end of your exported, right? I'm following now.
Yes. Yeah, I think I know what you mean now. So like when I said that's like an image block in Rise,
Yeah.
And that's another one. So like that whole thing is the image that we've put in.
Yes, perfect.
And we removed the padding on that one and on this one. So like those are the two things we exported.
Yeah.
That and that. And then by using the image block in Rise with no padding, they sit like right against
Flush.
each other.
Yeah. And have you turned off that like entrance thing in Rise as well, so they just are on screen as opposed to like appearing one after the other? Is that how you're getting like a seamless flow?
Don't know actually.
Oh, that's all right. It's something for people to explore at home. That's good though. I am satisfied, I think. I'll have to experiment myself to figure out because I've tried it before and it's been so much playing around and then I'm like, bleh. But thank you. I'll watch back this video next time I need to do something like that.
No worries.
And see how good your training was. No, thank you. Appreciate it.
We can do it in person because I don't know that was very clear.
It is hard to get that alignment. That's from one canvas flowing onto the next perfectly. You do kind of have to like experiment and like export it once and then bloody try it in Rise and then take it back up. Yeah. Okay, cool. Thank you.
No worries.
Yeah, well, on that, the 1920 times 1080, so that's the test I did when I did like the ideas at the beginning. And I'm pretty sure that's what Nicole Rao recommended, but I played around with it and that was the best size for that particular interaction.
Yeah.
The file you have, Vic, is what I tested as being like a good size. So I think if anyone's wanting to replicate that, that is a good size to do. Just to do
cool.
Because Vic just got the file and I sort of like semi-set it up.
Yeah, cool.
All right, Vic, what's your question?
My question's for Kim. So you recently QA'd actually that newspaper thing was part of the development file, but a Rise development file. And in your QA, you identified a few spots that you think it would be cool to have like a little character kind of narrating the module, just with text, I believe. Like just a little guy or whatever who pops up and gives instructions and like hints and stuff, I think. But I wanted to find out more about like your thought process behind that. Like, why do you think it's necessary? And like, I guess what like your ideas are behind using a little narration or like
a narrator
character.
Yeah. So I was doing a user test QA at that point. And as I was going through it, I was like, oh, there's a lot of information, like a lot of text, and it needs to be, I'm a bit fatigued now. I'm getting blurred and not really sure of where something's starting and what's finishing from a content perspective. I know there are headings and levels of hierarchy of information and things are presented in interactions, but specifically where I did mention it, I felt that the content, it actually almost had like two separate intentions if you read it as a user. So it was like, and it's complex content as well. So the intention at the beginning was like more around, maybe let's just describe it as the what and then the how. And when there was 3 paragraphs of something saying that all together, it was like a chunk of information. And I, as a learner, was like, this is complex. I need to digest it. I'm struggling to digest. So the first time that occurred, I was like, oh, maybe it's okay, because that's the first time that I'd felt that way as a learner. And then as I continued on, it happened to me again. I felt overwhelmed. I don't want to read this. I don't want to be here anymore, kind of thing. So that when it showed up twice, I was like, okay, interesting. And then what I realized in that second time is there was a pattern. Again, it was like what information and how information. But the way I think there was almost like because because it flows, the information flows, and it flows in the storyboard, and it works in the development tool. But when a developer's in there, they're not thinking about this is what information and this is how information. They're just thinking this is information. So when I user tested it, I was like, there's a difference between that. And as a learner, one's slightly more important to me than the other. And I needed to know that and present. That's when I was like, I need to know it as a person to do what I'm supposed to do. So that's kind of what went through my mind as a user. And then the second part, then going, okay, well, how do we make this improvement? It was like, well, this is kind of like if someone was sitting beside me, they would say, hey, so you got it, you're responsible for blah, blah, blah. And this is how you do it. So that kind of, that is what the content was kind of saying to me. So then I was like, well, what if all the times where it is that this is what it is, or this is what is required of you, it is like a buddy. So they're drawing attention to, these are your responsibilities, you have to do this is on you, person. And then the learner makes the association of, every time I see that, I'm seeing a requirement of me, and this buddy is telling me, they're like holding me accountable. And then the second paragraph could just stay as text. So because it's the how, and then the how is, it's normally like the how, and then there actually are better ways to train it, but it's kind of, at the moment, they're a bit blurred, and I felt like they needed to be slightly separated from that perspective. So yeah, that's where it came from for me.
Yeah, and that makes sense. Do you think that, because like I kind of thought you would get that idea from like looking at the storyboard, or like in the like instructional design phase, but do you think that is something that you don't know until you develop it, that it might be necessary? Because I know you spend a lot of time in ID like trying to identify like the need to know content and all that kind of stuff, like but for it to get to development and you'd be like, oh, I feel overwhelmed, or like there's a lot. Yeah,
I would say it's interesting. I'm just thinking of that because we would normally pick that up in our project, and I'm thinking of this particular project where there's been more iterations and more hands in there, where normally we're very like, you know how we have the learning objective on our storyboard, and then it's normally only 2 paragraphs of text, and it normally is, what is it? And then that's one screen, and the next one is why. And if you'll probably relate now, is like, this is the storyboard for the first time is kind of flowing a lot further down. And through the process, originally it wouldn't have happened. Originally I remember in the storyboard, it was broken up that way into smaller chunks. And therefore you as a developer would have developed it slightly differently. Because well, first of all, the instructional designer did indicate that way, and then you would have done it that way. However, this time it's like more stuff's being pushed in. And because we are so focused on working with the subject matter experts to get the content so right, we never went back and held. What we started to do was go, it originally had one learning objective, here's the content, and then more content came in that met another learning objective, and instead of putting it over 2 screens, they were blurred together. So the 2 learning objectives went at the top, but it just meant that there was a mass of content sitting there. And that's what's happened for why it's not that way in the storyboard when it went to development. Does that make sense? It's kind of like 2 or 3, and sometimes, which I don't know if we've ever got to this point before, 3 or 4 learning objectives are happening at the same time, whereas we're normally very like, it's 2 max on the same little chunk. So that's what's playing out.
Yeah, I can definitely see how that has happened.
Which I'm only realizing now that you've brought it up. Like, I didn't reflect on that. But that is why it is.
Yeah, and I think it's like a good improvement. Like, it's good that you picked up on that, because when I was developing, I was thinking like, oh, this is a lot, but that's as far as my thought process went.
Yeah. But that's why we do like the user, that's why we do the QA, like it is an iterative thing, because especially like you think about, yeah, you're in development mode, and what does that mean? It means like make that storyboard into something. You're not, but it's like you're taking a recipe and you're making it. You're not at your role at this particular part in the project, and for this particular project and how the process is set out is we're not asking you to put your own flair on it. Like it is prescriptive to you sort of thing. Like the ideas have already been thought about. So yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that.
It's all right. Do you accept that and the user feedback, and are you now willing to implement it?
No, I like it because I was willing anyway. I was just wondering like how, because I feel like it hasn't come up before that I've seen. So I was just wondering like why for this solution, like, and to help other people like consider, because I've never used a narrator person in the way that you're talking about, I don't think.
Yeah.
So like when is it actually useful to do it? So it's good to know your thought process.
Well, I guess that's it's good to distinguish that as well for people, is like I'm saying a narrator because there's other parts in the course where you already have made, what do you call it? Like you've clearly defined different information from different information in other ways. And this one, I was like, well, we can't just repeat the other ways because of the fatigue. We need to do something different. So the other ways that you have in there are different font colors, different font styles and sizes of text and color. And you've got colored banners. You've also got icons. You've got interaction. So you have all those things playing out, but it's within them. There was another level of, we need to change the state of the learner right now. And I didn't want to, we'd already exhausted the other ones. And also the change in state had a different intention to the ones that already existed. So therefore I needed a new thing. And I was like, what's a new thing? And when I read the content, I was like, oh, it kind of is written in a way that someone's telling you this. So what if it was a buddy? Okay, well, let's just do a little narrator, as opposed to let's just have an information icon, which is now a blur of all the other icons that might be used in the course. So that's why I specifically went for a narrator at that point, as opposed to just put this in a block with a different color background.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, on the topic of Articulate Rise, because we have all been working in Articulate Rise and like coming up with ideas for it, I would love to know from both of you just any tips or tricks or anything you can share with the viewers to help them develop better solutions in Articulate Rise.
The first thing I would say at a high level is like anything you see on, well, not anything, but the majority of things that you see on a website or an app on your phone, you can do that in Rise. So I would be looking there and then reverse engineering, figuring out how could you make it happen in Rise. And I think the example, I know you're not seeing the full course, but what Vic took you through is like that example of the newspapers flowing down and the story evolving, that like not all people would traditionally think of Rise being able to tell stories in that way. So just thinking about what do I like already from the world, and then like in a digital format, and how could I maybe make that in Rise?
Love that.
I don't know. No, I think it's hard unless you see examples, but I feel like Rise is not as like limited as you might think initially. Because I know for a long time, every time I developed in Rise, I was making the same course each time, basically, like same interactions, similar designs, like just different colors or that kind of thing. But like there are actually a lot more things you can do with it. But it's hard to picture until you actually see it done, because a lot of the things I've seen that I've been like, shit, that's really cool. I would never have thought to do it, or like known how to make it work in Rise. Even like that image thing with the little newspaper, like it doesn't seem that difficult, but until I saw it done, I wouldn't have thought to put it together like that. And I think it's the same for some of the other courses we've developed, where it's just using like full width images or whatever to create, like, you can have as much text in an image as you want. Like, you don't have to use the text or text blocks in Rise. Like, develop it in an image in something else and then put it in. And even just like doing that for a whole screen can make it look like a really cool website. Like, we've done like comic design looking ones. You're not just restricted to like, I'm going to use this like Arial font or whatever and put an image next to it. Like, there's a lot, I don't know, that's like not that useful, because I'm like, I can't think of all the tips like that go with that, but it's just not as restrictive as you think.
Yeah.
You just
I think it's almost like what I'm hearing you say, Vic, is like design a poster outside of Rise, use the cool fonts, use the cool colors, make the layout as wacky and overlapping as you want. And then think about if you put it into Rise, or you almost digest, it's kind of actually, then it's your design as panels, like big panels, which are essentially the image centered block or the image block. And that's almost how you have to cut it out. And they become, your big poster becomes maybe 3 mini sub cut up things, where even if it is like a star that's cut in half, which is the same as what Vic was showing earlier, the top half of the star might sit in the first part of the image and the second one in the second. But when you put them together as image centered blocks with no padding, they're actually just a flow on each other. And then you can, when you put it in there, it's like, do I need to remove the background of this color? So now when I remove the blue from the back of my star and it's now white in Rise, it looks like my star is overlapping and bursting out of basically your poster design. And that's how you can be a bit more creative. I think that's what you were saying, Vic.
Yeah, that has made me think as well. I think a tip would be to have like, try and pick a few theme colors, because Rise, it's just like white and then you pick one theme color. But I think it could be useful to have a few, because then you can separate content using like a different background color. And that's when you can do like, say your banner images, say your theme color is like navy blue, you can have a banner image that's like half blue up the top and then white down the bottom, and it could be like a cool swirl that goes the whole width, or like a zigzag or something, and make it like a banner that's the reverse as well, with like the blue up the top. Did I already say that? Have like one with blue up the top and one with blue down the bottom. And then if you use that
reverse of the image,
like then
turn it upside down.
If you use that banner image like above and below a bunch of blocks, like it could be one text block or it could be like 10 image blocks. If you're using those banners to like section it, and they have it's a nice design, it like makes that section pop out more, and you're not just scrolling through like a massive white website. Like, it can alternate and like highlight different things. Because I think whenever we've done that in courses, it's like taken them to the next level, having a bit more variety.
It's like you start with the white, and then it's like, oh, now we're introducing blue background, and it's done like as a zigzag or something. So it's not just a block to a block. It's not like white block to blue block. And then when you go through the blue section, which might be focusing on one particular thing, then the zigzag goes from blue and then into white again, and it continues on. I think that does look really nice.
I just think it's anything you can do to make it seem less like it's a rectangle block on top of a rectangle block on top of a rectangle block. Like,
you got more depth.
Get rid of that feeling.
And I think you do that quite well with like, bringing in, it's either image center blocks, image with the text on the side as well. and moving, like even if you have an image with a white background, and so that it's not actually a square, it's just like something, even if you think of a flower on a white background and then the text is over on the right, and then on the next one you could duplicate that but reverse the image from the left and make it on the right, and then the text is on the left, so it's like the learner goes from left to right to left, so you're taking them on a journey. And when that's presented as the website, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's really nice how it flows. And I know I'm going to just pop in now and say that everyone's like, you can't, images with text on them are not accessible. Well, they are, and there are ways to figure that out. So you need to be intentional around your alternative text and how you are creating it. But making an accessible course doesn't mean it has to be visually unappealing. You just need to consider the alt text and how you deal with your design. And also we have lots of videos on Rise examples if you want to see them. I know the ones we're talking about at the moment, like we can't show them because they're client ones, but there are ones where we have shown you guys how to do that. Actually, it's called Make Rise Look Like a Website. And you'll see some of the video or some of the examples that Vic is specifically talking to are in there.
Yeah. There's another one called UX UI Design Tips, which is another Rise course that we created.
Oh, okay, cool. I probably did that video and I'm like, oh, that sounds really useful. Did I?
There's also our inspiration, how to find inspiration for your e-learning. Lots of different websites and places that we look for inspiration and help us come up with ideas for Rise. So check out that video to find out where we get some of our ideas. And also I want to specifically call out, it's called ABC Story Labs, and they have stories where you scroll and they basically evolve into the whatever graphics and text they have. It's very cool the way it's graphically designed. It evolves as the story evolves. So one of our ideas came from that. So check out all of their news stories as well to help. It's similar to what you can achieve.
Yeah. I think some of the tips, just random, is always go massive with your images. If you can get them at 1920 by 1080, maybe you don't need all the space, but it's about fitting it within that. The bigger the better. By not using all the space, I mean could be white all around the outside, but your image is this little bit on the whole canvas, then Rise treats it better. So it's always better to have a bigger image, because what Rise is trying to do is go, what if they're on a mega screen? How do I present it that way? So it's easier for it to scale it down. So I'd always say bigger, go those dimensions with your images. Yeah. What else is there? I think make sure you preview the things on the different devices as well, because sometimes you might have content that flows from one to another, and on the computer screen it works really well, but maybe on a tablet or a mobile phone, the gap is too big, and you're it might say, I don't know, scroll for instructions, and then but no one knows to scroll yet. So it's scroll for instructions or something, and then it's here are the instructions, so they're kind of jotted off each other, but not everyone knows to scroll in Rise yet, because traditionally e-learning is linear and it's click next, move left to right. So when it looks perfect on your laptop preview or your computer preview, but when you put it into a mobile phone or a tablet, they actually move it, and then therefore you don't know to scroll, or I don't know if I'm explaining that properly. No, but just make sure you test it so the information that sits before and after, if it's linked, is useful and works, basically.
Yeah, that's another good thing too, we have started putting that message in, telling people how to use a Rise course, because we found a lot of the feedback we got back, people Kim was saying,
way more than you would expect.
So we've actually got it as part of our checklist now. Whenever we make a Rise course, we have some sort of interaction or instruction that shows them how to scroll and navigate the course, because not everyone's used Rise and knows it like we do. I think that's a good one too. Reduce the size of your GIFs. We've gotten in trouble with that sometimes. Where, like, if you turn a video into a GIF or you just have a GIF that's a very large size, it can, like, it won't work on people's computers. It's just the size is too large for it to load. So
yeah,
check our GIF size.
Yeah, that reminds me as well of like the videos, you know how whatever it is about the first frame is what shows as the video. So if you want it blank, or if you don't want someone's some face, like when they're about to be video interviewed and they have like some distorted facial expression because of the way the video is treated, make sure that first frame of the video is what you want users to see. And then also extend the video at the end, because Rise restarts a video when it's finished. So if you've got something on screen, the voiceover ends and then the video is technically finished, it will show the first frame again. So make sure you extend the video out so someone has enough time to like process, digest, read whatever that last bit of the video is.
Yeah.
I feel like that's all, but those videos, Hannah, that you mentioned that we've made, definitely we'll put them in the description. Watch those because they have great, like the color coding and when to use italics, when to hyperlink. A lot of those kinds of specific tips are in those videos.
Yeah, and padding and we'll have the website one, how to create that flow-on effect where it looks like it's all connected. Yeah, cool. All right, well, thank you both of you for your tips and advice. I think that was a cool episode because I think Articulate Rise is quite popular at the moment, and we've been really like getting into learning how to use it better and like take it level and make it look really cool. So I hope that you all got some advice for Articulate Rise. If you're watching this and you have been experimenting with Articulate Rise and you have any advice or tips, please comment it below. We would love to hear it and learn from you.
Yeah, if someone's super proud of what they're experimenting with, let us know as well, because you can come on our show and show people how you made it and like get the word out about like how to do really cool e-learning.
Yeah, love that. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you for the next Studio Insights.
What's up, awesome human? Thank you on behalf of myself and the Belvista Studios team for continuously choosing to learn with us. We really appreciate it. If the tips and the insights and the context resonate with you and you want to take your skills to the next level, or you want to make your life way easier, you will love our Creator Hub. The Creator Hub is a place for people like you and us. Basically, it's the stuff that we use internally at Belvista Studios, and then we just share it publicly with you. The Creator Hub is created by instructional designers for instructional designers, and what you'll love there at the moment is we've got a quiz, Could I Be a Better Instructional Designer, that has so much tips in the feedback if you're interested in human-centered design or just taking your skills to the next level in terms of the solutions you're creating, the problems you want to solve. But in there as well, aren't we cute? That's us. But we've got the coaching courses, freebies, give us gratitude, and also we've got some templates. And basically they're always around the lens of learning experience design, instructional design, and e-learning. So a human-centered design focus is very much what we're about at Belvista Studios. So putting your learners at the heart of a solution and creating something for their needs. So there's the human-centered design stuff, and then we've also got the business stuff. So this is the stuff they don't teach you about when you want to become a freelancer or a consultant in the instructional design world. So go check it out. The link is in the description. You can check out everything that is available for you. Thank you for choosing to learn with us. Continuously invest in your skills. You will be rewarded as an instructional designer. Share this stuff, share it with other people, because when we are better instructional designers, we create better solutions that create better humans, that create a better world. So we have a very important role, and I'm excited to be on this journey with you. Have an awesome day.